Well, at this time I want to talk to you about using columns, discuss various columns, and also implement some optimization that you can perform based on these columns and settings you want to apply. Let's see, guys, when you first need to logically and correctly choose the level you want to analyze. For example, all of you should work at the campaign level. Some parts should go to your ad group level, some parts to your keyword level, search terms, ads, and finally, in various analyses, we can use something. Now, the point is, for example, I am giving inside this shopping campaign, for example, in this time frame X, for example, I set it to the last 30 days, and I want the guys to perform the analysis. The point is that I told you about the PAU columns. I can add different models of these, customize them, save them, and have them. What is important in modifying columns is that naturally you can have a search here. As I mentioned, you can delete them, rearrange them, and remove the items you don't need so that you can logically proceed with your analysis. It has a series of recommendations itself, such as cost per conversion and conversion rate, which are defined as the number of conversions, divided by the number of clicks. This varies at each level of WA. Your performance section, guys. From all this, I'm telling you about interaction rate and CTR. In campaigns where the search ads model is the same, it doesn't make a difference. For example, CTR or interaction with clicks doesn't differ. But in videos, why do these definitions become different? That's why I'm not dealing with them right now. Or for example, your average cost and average CPC in search don't make a difference. The column for impression, absolute top, that you can review shows the percentage of your impressions that are displayed in rank 1, or what percentage of your impressions are shown at the top. Yes. Indeed, you can add these columns. In your conversion section, there is a conversion value section, which is the value I talked about. If you set it to same value, you can see it here. If there is no conversion, and you can pass it, as I mentioned, the point is that when I am modeling in Real, it might not be very logical to send it this way, unless I change my conversion value to the currency unit that is the same as the same value. And then I can send it. I can work with this value. One of the things you can work with is the difference between all conversions and conversion. I mentioned that your secondary will also be shown here, but conversion will only be your primary. And you also have different circuits here. The average order value is also a topic I mentioned, which is AOV. It says here that you need to pass this data. So it comes to your analytics side. In the attribute section, you can actually, for example, name its campaign, and it automatically assigns the campaign ID and ad group ID, which I am not dealing with right now. If you actually have the activity permission, you can check it to see it in your columns. You can see your strategy type, which is more important towards the BA. Campaigns. It has a label that you might use to label some things yourself. You can assign a label to it, and it can help you with your filtering and differentiations and the labels that you actually have. The competitive matrix section talks about search impression share. Search top impression share refers to the amount that you have actually captured in the top impression share from the total impressions you received. Look, it says the impressions you have received in the top location on the search result divided by the estimated number of impressions you were eligible for, meaning the amount you could have actually displayed in the top, divided by the eligibility that you could have received in the top location. This is an important point, guys. Its eligibility is based on the top location or absolute top impression. It also says that, sir, based on the amount that is top eligible or absolute top impression, meaning the amount of impression that you received in the top, divided by your eligible top impression that you could have received in the top. This differs from your eligible total impression, so pay attention to this point. The search lost impression rank is the amount that, based on your rank, you actually saw. You need to look at these together. If you are going into the discussion of impression share, You should take the amount of impression you received and finally, you should compare it with your lost impression share. For example, you might have lost search impressions due to the top or the top search impression share that you were eligible for. I mean, you should not just add up 100 columns side by side, but rather analyze the columns that you can compare together. For instance, as I see it, if you look at my impression share, I would consider this. And I'm saying, sir, how much are these eligible ones here? I look at them side by side to see what is happening. You see, it says we got a total of 24% of this impression share, but the top search, meaning the amount displayed at the top, the eligible capability to be shown up there, was below 10%. Here, I go to the parameters I mentioned, and I want to address this impression share. Or I want to maintain the CTR, or I actually want to somehow maintain the ad rank so that I can increase the top position volume. One of the parameters was the budget, which I mentioned, be mindful of that budget. You can't just increase it like that. Then I focus on increasing the ad rank because the budget controls it. And of course, the format I talked about regarding extensions, but I mentioned good extensions for you. Use them. Keep in mind that this can be useful for your work. This topic can help you. And finally, I go to the search top impression share. I focus on improving the quality score parameters first. And finally, I address the discussion. You also need to record a bit so that the data becomes valid for you. As I mentioned, improving the quality score doesn't change instantly. You need to record it. And in the end, I go on to gradually increase the bit amount, not all at once, but step by step, to see how the performance you are getting will change. Compare these changes because comparison is very effective. For example, I compare this. Pay attention to your comparisons when you compare it. You can see, for instance, how much the increase was. For example, by submitting the poem, it has decreased by 31% compared to the previous similar period. I move on to the parameters. Let me tell you something right here in this analysis. Sometimes I see that the search impression of this poem has also dropped. So what happens? We say, I see, for example, that the impression has decreased and the clicks have also decreased. When this happens overall, it forms a story. For instance, the issues that have arisen with the internet and so on have caused all these events. But sometimes I see that this impression has gone up, but the project's poem has dropped. So, it means the numerator of the impression has also gone up, but the impression of the poem has dropped. Isa, what's happening? Guys, probably your denominator, meaning here, we've probably made these moves, or added keywords, or divided the ad group. Why am I saying this? I'm looking at the ad groups. Guys, sometimes it happens. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Okay? Sometimes it happens that you came and divided your ad group, okay? In this ad group, it might even happen that your impressions drop. Why? Because you've split this ad group and moved it somewhere else, and this ad group has started delivering the traffic that was previously here. So guys, it's natural that this volume of impressions has moved here. How do you check it? You look at the whole picture, okay? Pay attention to your filters and look at the whole picture. What happens when you are working? You practically see that your head has increased. For example, it has improved. But sir, this group has fallen apart. Well, this shedding that has happened here, where has it gone? It has gone to another group. You are getting traffic in another group. These are the places where your notes help you, and you can actually be fully aware of what is happening. So based on this, I come and look to see, sir, my core impression has gone up, and this ad group has fallen apart, while the other one has become positive and gone up. Well, it is based on the strategy I have implemented, and I also note that I did this. I understand that I came here and divided the ad group. I look exactly there and see that from that date it has dropped, for example, the impression. I see that this very ad group has had its impression drop from that date, for example, and it has gone to a place. But when it happens across the whole, there are other parameters involved. One is that the internet has been having problems recently. But if I see that it's all falling apart, what could be the problem? Guys, it's not too bad. I'm looking at this next to convergence. I see that convergence has also fallen. I see convergence has also fallen. So this is a result of the impression drop. But sometimes when I see convergence has even fallen, I say, I have these different models. The conversion rate also went up. What does that mean? Yes, it means the traffic has been optimized to some extent, but now I can increase its volume. That is, I've optimized the traffic and the conversion rate has also increased. This means the conversion I had relative to the clicks, my irrelevant clicks, have decreased. Anyway, a part of it has shifted over there. Also, when I'm doing such a thing, I should see, hey, look guys, this use of columns, this point is very important. I'm telling you, let's do this analysis for me. I see that the conversion is somewhat optional, but the conversion rate has also increased significantly. The conversion rate is the conversion divided by the number of clicks, meaning the clicks have decreased, but the conversion has decreased much more. So I'm operating more efficiently. The conversion rate helps you here. Now that I've cleaned this up, I want to take it higher, right? I want to take it higher. I want to increase this, improve my results. This really helps you understand, so you can figure out, okay, now I should focus on increasing the volume of clicks and impressions. I start by trying to increase them, meaning I work on my impressions and CTR so that I can raise the volume of impressions and clicks. Based on the results, I see the parameters beforehand. From that, for the events that might happen, I see that the conversion has also dropped. The conversion has dropped, and the clicks and impressions are also decreasing, or the impression share has decreased. I go and check. Guys, go look at this. Where in your chart did this happen? Well, find it. From that chart, you can add or reduce your parameters. Here, what should I add, for example, conversion? You bring it here into the chart and see it there. Another thing that might happen here is that sometimes you're not paying attention, or you've excluded some points, or conversely, let me not say conversely, you've done something else. We want parameters that can affect you, like the volume, your LG belt, all of these, and even your camera. For example, you might have set your target location, and someone looks at it and sees that it was covering the whole country. Imagine, for instance, it was covering all of Canada. It can support it, but it went wrong, and it changed everything, like moving the target to somewhere else, like Accra. Well, obviously it is decreasing. Well, it is entirely possible that now it might completely overflow. I want to say that the changes you are seeing in the change history that I taught you become very important. This is another model. You made a negative mistake. For example, you went and used a word for something else. Not, for example, you came and excluded var. Well, sometimes I see that I exclude var. Well, sir, you blew it up. You should do an override. No, you should exclude like this. Guys, it's time. Negating, then have a completely clear mind and don't overlook any examples. When you think like this, you can attract the right traffic and not just negate randomly. You go and look at your negatives. Oh, you made mistakes with your negatives. And this has caused a part of your traffic to drop significantly. A very, very important point. I put conversion here, but don't forget, if your conversion is a call, it actually counts towards the increase, but it doesn't count a certain point. Where? If the call extension is a conversion form, it counts on the site, but it doesn't count the lead form extension here. Pay close attention to this, guys. If these two topics are considered part of your conversion, you need to go to the Data Studio Reports Dino and shadow it here for assistance. Well, or in your Google Ads reports that you have in your videos, you can actually watch your call extensions along with your conversions. In the discussion of custom call, this is also a topic that Shalar talks about. And a very important point is that you are making call lists and a large volume of work is coming through your call extensions. If you only look at the conversion in a situation where your lead, meaning your call button, and your main goal is your call, you shouldn't exclude it so easily. There's a selector. I've seen someone go into the ad group and say this keyword, hasn't been useful for me. What are a few things you need to pay attention to? 1 is your conversion rate. 2 is whether the attribution model has been overlooked. Well, has the call been set to 1, or has the attribution model been set to last? Has the impact of other keywords been ignored still, or the purchase as well? A journey has influenced the purchase. 2, 3, or 4. touches have occurred and a conversion has been recorded. You came and set it to last click here. Attribution comes to your aid. You set it to last click without realizing that this purchase is the result of a chain. After the interaction, what do? You come and say, sir, this keyword has conversions. These don't have conversions. You come and remove these, and then suddenly you see the conversion rate plummets. Why did this happen? You broke the chains without realizing that their role was also part of the plan. So, what happened here? Guys, you ignored the impact of the chains, and this affects the conversion column as well. Pay attention to the circuit, guys. Make sure you haven't chosen the wrong circuit. It's crucial. There's a part where you no longer see the purchase. Be aware, for example, someone has made 2 purchases in the session with 1 add interaction, filling out the purchase form twice, right? When they're doing this, you didn't account for the other one. Then suddenly you see the conversion rate and it says a series of keywords. You enjoy it, you stop, and everything gets mixed up. Guys, you can't easily analyze everything completely like this. Pay close attention to the conversion column when you are looking at your collection. I will talk about the collection in the segment section in the next video and discuss filters. So it's very important that when you're analyzing in the columns, don't just add any data randomly. Try to add columns that are useful for your analysis. Think about it. When you want to analyze, you need to examine it from different angles. So that attribution model creates this scenario for you, that if it has been chosen incorrectly, you might remove a series of keywords. Guys, don't remove them so easily. If the call button is important, don't remove the keyword. Why? Because it could affect the call extension. When this effect exists, what happens? You would have captured the call extension, but you didn't capture the session that could have converted. Turn it back here, see if you don't see it, remove them, and you'll say, my call volume dropped because I removed the right keyword, guys. It's very sensitive. Don't look at the situation easily. It's much more complicated than it seems. So in your analysis, columns can help. Another one of the columns that we actually have and can help you, we have a column, meaning we have 3 columns called estimated bids. Guys, you see the estimated bids, we have 3 columns. I'll go into the columns now and show you here. I'll remove the extra columns. Now, I don't care about the quality, just write an estimate here. I've moved it here, but it hasn't loaded yet. It has a set of columns, estimated first page bid, first position bid. As I said, the first page is practically meaningless to us. We say it's loaded when we say it's loaded. The loading becomes relevant, and the first page is no longer meaningful to us. First position bid, absolute top, and top of page bid. Okay? I've added it here. This is the set of columns. When you add it, it gives a hint. Guys, it gives a hint. Not an exact guide. Okay? This hint that you see here is a very important hint. Look, I consider it a hint again when I'm looking at it. For example, I'm hitting a CTR with 970, and my average CPC is 0.46%, which I can gradually bring down. My CTR is suitable. I'm hitting 90% now. For instance, it doesn't relate to the conversion. Let's remove the conversion game so that your focus isn't disrupted. 19 cents. So it's probably very good that I analyze this in the segment section and tell you. I see the estimate for the first page bid is 19. The first position is giving 0.48. And with the page, it's also 0.48. I'm seeing that my average CPC is also 0.46. Guys, I can bring these numbers down slowly. Conversely, don't go somewhere and say that the data isn't providing bids. I see that it told me to set it at 239. Guys, it's not always possible to set it at 239. This depends on the bidding that others are placing sometimes, but it gives you an estimate. The same person who bids very high sometimes gets ahead, or we see your bid language. I estimate the first position bid at 20 lira, 40 lira. Sir, you shouldn't set it at 40 lira. The important point here is that you don't think about this sometimes. You might have only taken 2 keys. It might have gone outside. So the estimate that is being mentioned, as its name suggests, is just an estimate. It only gives you a faint light, a hint, and based on the data that has occurred before, it is saying that, oh, I estimate this if you put it this much, you will probably be seen more in the fill position. It's not supposed to sell the position. It increases its volume because of the search impression. You can make these things happen from this atmosphere. A hint, you are not supposed to do this based on, if you see the meat here was 400, you want to put 400. No, you should base your bid on, I always say this, guys, instead of constantly looking at the side mirror and rear view mirror, take a look ahead. You are supposed to go on your path. If you keep looking at the side mirror and rear view mirror, guys, you'll have an accident. Don't forget this. You are not supposed to always keep your hand on the hand of the person next to you. These are merely to serve as a guide for you, like a mirror. Well, you take a look at it, but the decision to give the command or not is up to you. You need to analyze your own data first. My own data is the most important thing for me above all else. If you pay attention, I place this after your analysis. Why? Because you are analyzing your own data. When I see it's like this, with 97 hundredths of an inch taking 6 hundredths, I start to gradually lower it. But at the same time, I'm careful. If I'm lowering the penguin general thread, I need to watch, for example, if I see Nietzsche. Well, Nietzsche, for instance, has a longer keyword. If you're lowering it, you need to be careful to lower your general as well. Why? Because if you don't do this, the general will start taking our traffic. Now, he says, sir, every time I did this, I know I'm calling this one 97. I'm calling this one 46. I start slowly, I lower it, make it 90, set it to 2048, let 3 days, 2 days. 3 days pass to see what effect the change I made in my bid has created for me. Did it improve? Did it go lower or not? It's very important that this ROI CBC that I have, this is a very important environment along with Cocktail and Click. They are taking it. And I can add this project partner here. Look. I also bring the impression share here and look at it. This is the parameter that you see next to each other. The CTR is also important. I see if the impression share is 46% and here 21%. I start with this analysis. Now I put this and say first the quality score. I come to the server parameters, my quality score, which I said you can check with history. That was the column I mentioned to you. I see the quality scores of those with low CTR. I check them and see, I set 239. I have a CPC. I have a bit more. I adjust it. Guys, here I take it up without knowing. I also look at the estimates next to it. I tell you the hints next to each other become important. There are some places where I estimate, no, this wasn't it. Wait, there are also places where my memory doesn't help, so I search for it usually. But well, there are also places where I see it on the internet. It doesn't help, oh no. Until I canceled it, it came. Well, you see, I checked these off. First position bid, then with the page bid, well, it was in the widget, it was an attribute. I apply it, see, I analyze everything like this. See, I use the columns like this. I see, I'm hitting CTs 3 and 7. The first person who gets 1, for example, I see this. They set the bid to 1 and 12. Well, the kids, well, 51. I'm getting 100. Well, this is a question mark for me. I should bring the bid down to the better ones. Amaniga, it seems like the cult from the 50 and the kids cult from you has a lot of influence. So the first step I start with is this study of my work in Geram, but when I look at myself, I see Mr. Average, estimate press page B to page B2. This story is giving 5,600, which is another hint for me. Kids, those who are much higher than you, just forget about them, don't go after them, go. Another hint for me is that I see Mr. Someone who is lower than me is giving me an estimate. So I bring this down, okay, but at the same time I improve my quality score. First without touching anything. I started improving my quality score, started getting better, and brought it down. Ooh, okay. Now, another hint. Kids, when your first page bid estimate has such a difference with your first position bid, it means that, sir, I probably messed it up myself. Hit it. Okay, why? Look, I'm at 239. Do you see? It was me myself. But guys, don't forget I said this is an estimate. Sometimes don't forget that it might have mentioned 4 things and gone forward and out. That's why it has very high bids in it. You see, don't go for that estimate. You put your bid in Arabic. Do your optimization correctly. Well, the estimate is not important, guys. Many people misuse it saying, look, Google said this, so I should put this. But Google said what it said. This is an estimate, not an exact statement. You have to analyze it. I am analyzing it together. When I give this a 5 out of 10, well, I need to increase my quality score, and then I need to do this work to be able to get those 6700s. A little bit of CTR jumps at the time. Well, and don't waste it. Analyze it. Your data team alongside these are very important. I see here, for example, it has said 6900, and I'm hitting an average of 20. Well, if I bring this up, improving the quality score, this becomes a little bit of a percentage. Your CTR goes up, so optimization is key. I have always told you about the column. I'll give you a small example right here. This is about the estimate video as well. It makes sense together, kids. If you see that everything is actually in place and the estimates are much higher, gradually increase your video a little bit. Well, but I'm also keeping an eye on the budget, so don't worry about a low budget. Not everything is recorded in it. And I started optimizing. And in the end, one of the things that exist, guys, is that in general, and broad keywords, don't worry if your CTR is low. It's natural. The first bid is not established, and others are placing lower bids. They are getting it. The next point is that when broad is coming in, naturally, its CTR can be lower than exact or phrase. Well, this is natural, because you might have some irrelevant traffic in it, and you need to extract its negatives. Sometimes when we are setting negatives, I just select this and check its spam. I actually start with this broad. When the keyword is aggressive, we also have something called custom columns. Columns that are not defined here, I have created a few custom columns here as examples, and I will explain them here. You give it a name, for instance, you might say purchase, divided for such and such, which I will show as an example. For instance, you type test, okay, test custom, then you add a description. Okay, you specify the data format, whether it's a number, percentage, dash, or currency. I say I want to put text in the data, whatever it is. For example, I say I want to put a number. What is it? Let me give an example. I want to, but here are 3 examples provided for you. The next point, for example, let's say I have my primary conversion. Okay, here I want to separate the number of conversions and into separate columns. I want to add 2 columns to see the number of product purchases separately and the number of educational purchases separately. For example, I'm saying, okay, I come here and add columns. What is it? Its type is conversion. Here it brings this data for me. You can add a date range, for example. You can use a filter and say from this date, and here always show me separately. The conversion action, exactly as I said, I want to see the course purchase separately. I just want to save this to have it. Okay. I save this and say, sir, the course purchase, and because you didn't see the course purchase separately here. You would go into the conversion and see it. I'm saying this without any formula, okay? Here, I have my course purchase. I also put the column test here. Here, besides seeing my conversion column, I also place the conversion rhythm here. I see the conversion column, and I hit this column test here. I see that it's currently 0 because I just set it up as a test. I can see this separately. Yeah. I could have corrected its name too. Do you want us to edit it? It says here at the bottom, custom column. It shows you this. Do you want to view it or should we delete it? This is where I click, sir, it has a purchase. And I apply it. When I apply it, I see its column on the same track, right? So custom columns, whether without a formula or with a formula, whatever you want, you can put here. Now let me manage this and see a few dependencies. I wanted to calculate the cost of my purchase. I also had other conversions, and of course it becomes much easier to do this when I am in this campaign. At the campaign level, I also go and say, sir, add the total conversion of course purchase and product purchase as the primary conversion of this campaign. I could have not added this column, but I don't know the difference. I need to see what is happening. The first thing is this. Even though you name a lot of conversions, for example, I will bring them for you. Well, I say conversion action. For example, suppose I want everything that has been sent to me. For instance, I say WhatsApp or whatever, like online chat, or yes, etc. I want to see, for example, well, it might not even be primary. It doesn't matter in this world for me. I say, sir, I want this. For example, suppose I add 1. For instance, I put it here. I add it, but I want to give an example of a formula as well. Add conversion. For example, again, suppose WhatsApp, I had closed WhatsApp. I say this is also big, right? I come here, I also give it a name. I write, sir, WhatsApp. For example, guys, I'm just saying, you need to think about these things, like putting different things. My friends, I didn't show the sample Instagram. Why did I define it? It was a click and it came this way. I put these two here and saved them. Now we can have a division, for example, if you want to say, always show me the 7-day average cost, it says. The 7-day cost divided by 7, for example, you liked it. I save it, and finally it becomes my columns that I see over there. You see over there from here. You say, now to be able to show you. I see an example, for instance, Instagram is set separately. You can set this, it says, sir, I want you to show me the cost division of your purchase. Suppose it has mistakenly set 3 conversions for any reason. You want to separate the purchase section. Usually you would set that as primary in a campaign, for example, saying it's balanced. For instance, you never see it to make it primary, to make the column primary, okay? But I want to... There, the cost knows the column. Show me its conversion. And over there, my primary action, you set that as secondary too. And over there, my primary action, like buying a course for purchasing its product, show it in the primary action as well. You know what, some nas, and I set it in the hourly campaign, and I keep its secondary column there, and show it over there. Right here, I set the cost column. Look, the cost division bought it and says, sir, the cost division for these 2 conversions. When I apply it, I look here. It combines these 2 conversions together, right? It says I want to have this. It also has another example itself, for instance, cost columns. When you apply it here, it says, sir, the cost. When you insert it, it shows up and says the cost. When I insert it and look here how it has been applied, it says, sir, it has placed the cost here and filtered it. Let me show you. Once myself, see, it applies columns and says, sir, I want the cost, right? Here I can search for its cost. I bring up the cost, set a date range, and filter. Saying, sir, for example, last 7 days apply. Now it has placed the cost for 7 days divided by 7. I want its average, right? I also put a name, test, for instance, such and such cost divided by such and such. I put it here and name it. Now I saw its example here, guys, see? When I insert it, it brings it up for me. You see? It had named it itself. It had set an example. What? Average daily cost. Obviously, last 7 days, it has also named it. You can change it here, separate its name yourself. So guys, custom columns are for you to be able to create columns yourself where you can have different formulas. For example, you can search, sir, I don't know, different custom columns for this topic, whatever things you think of right now. You think about it, see what things I can create custom columns for. And finally then, the columns you don't have, you can add here. I added conversion to my card and brought it here myself. For example, I placed it. And finally, you can also add it to your column. For instance, I told you about the analyses at the keyword level, what actions to take. I mentioned the estimates and I gave a hint, guys, if you see there's a big difference, don't go for it. Actually, don't do this because it might be that someone got 2 clicks and left. He knew he could show you. You shouldn't analyze it in such a way. For example, consider Reza's position. Sometimes when I look, I know I should look at the 2 glasses. These are the losers we discussed for Josh. You saw these 239s here, right? These have passed. For instance, I apply a filter, and I'll teach you the filter too. I say, show me only the all enable that has passed. You see 132, so this difference between the 2 is a lot, like 400. The second one, kid, 1 and 24. We went for this one, you see? We worked on it ourselves. We set 1 and 15. We set 1 and it's black ourselves. We have 1 and black 1. Why? If I raise the quality score, it will improve and can give me a better result. When these differences become very large, you should be alerted. or sir, something is wrong. In the middle of this, when they are doing this work, you should not go for that state because you are seeing the initial data analysis. After that, I am seeing this myself, sir. For example, I can increase my quality score. I know the difference between these two, just the things I mentioned. Even this version share, I put it next to it and so on. With that method I mentioned, I work with it. Regarding your custom columns, I said they are columns that you can use with its function. I say function with, it has an if function and an end function. You can do these things in it. However, in custom columns, for me, the most important part is these columns. Here I can create different columns and bring them into play. For example, if I need to see the campaign name, or maybe I want to look at this competitive metric work, right? I want to see these two next to each other. I also want to see the search last impression share, for example, and add up certain things to see them together, to see how much I lost. Of course, we can separate the loss and see it. You see, we can easily perform calculations and see, for example, this, along with the competitive metric again. The list by the column should be there. The list search is saying this field, wa, I don't have much to do with it. Now, I just put a random name and you can write the list extensively. Finally, when the column is added, I click apply. Look here, not there. Let me check it once more. Let me check it once. What are you searching for, kids? Actually, this was interesting. In the search keyword, I'm looking at a parameter that isn't relevant here and can't show what the column should be. To the right, you had an issue with the column, but I can't address it here. Now, for example, just assume. I don't even have a plus until I put it there myself, and I'm seeing the same search loss by color, but it doesn't matter, different models. But just to open your perspective, it says there's a custom call program that allows you to do this, adding, subtracting, whatever, each of them. You can do this. They have left 3 examples themselves, so for instance, assume I want to. Here, I want to have a column, to see how much they clicked on mobile, right? Here I say, Lewis, look, I want to see the clicks for the 3 devices separately, especially mobile. I say like, save it. I want to add a column. I don't have a column like this, right? I want to add this here. Guys, this is exactly the column. Those that are segments, I'll talk about them later. So here is the column. I put this under your name, please apply it. This mobile click was 9. So I organized this data for all 9 of them in mobile click. I want to see that out of these 34. 31 were mobile and 4 were desktop. Check. You might want to analyze this, it becomes very important here. And because here, and custom columns, I will help you. I will precisely take these columns. In this section, I told you about a series of analyses that were in the columns. You can make optimal use of the columns and work on them. This is very important. And guys, don't just randomly place the columns next to each other. When you can't analyze whatever data you have, it's worse. The thing you want to place next to each other, I also mentioned some examples to you. I'll see you in the next video.